The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. Joining me today on the panel are Father Andrew Kinstetter. Hi, Father Andrew.
Hello, Dom.
And Pat Scott. Hi, Pat.
Hello there.
So we have a great set of stories to talk about this week, some very interesting news, and some interesting intersections between Catholicism and the Catholic faith and technology this week, but we'll get to that in a bit. I do want to start with some technology news that's a bit out of this world. It's not going to be something you can buy, but it's technology that affects all of us. There's been some news in relation to space exploration, manned space exploration. I mean, it's exciting to even be able to have this conversation. The idea that we're actually seriously considering that there will be people going to other planetary bodies, one a moon and one a planet, perhaps in my lifetime or at least the lifetime of my kids. So here's the big news. NASA's the head of NASA, the director of the space agency, Jim Bridenstine, said that 2035 is possible for manned landing on Mars. I think we say human landing these days. We want to be sure we're inclusive. Humans landing on Mars. If there's enough budget, hint, hint, Congress. So the background on this is there's already a project, the Artemis project, to get America back on the moon by 2024. They're very clear that it's a man and a woman will be going to the moon, and that they plan to have it sustainable, a moon base, by 2028, which is people living and working on the moon for long periods of time, like the space station. So what do you? Let's talk about that first. So what do you think about that? Are you excited about going back to the moon? And what do you think is the whether it's realistic or not, that will be there in 2024 and be sustainable by 2028? That's less than a decade away. What do you think, Father Andrew? Why don't you start?
Well, I think it's a fascinating idea. I think it's obviously possible because it's happened before. Whether or not we'll be sustainable by 2028, I, of course, have absolutely no idea how any of that works. It reminds me of the book The Martian, or the movie The Martian, if you've seen that. I mean, and just the amount of things that are necessary to create any sort of sustainability either on the moon or on Mars is just mind-boggling. So I'm excited that this is definitely something that we can talk about. I don't know if I want to be involved in going to the moon without it being established for millennia, but it's definitely an awesome thing to be a part of and to see happen.
How about you, Pat?
Oh, this sounds like a lot of fun. I don't think I'll be anywhere near the front of the line as far as getting on the people that going to the moon or to the Mars. I think it's exciting. I think 2028 sounds awfully optimistic, but maybe they're trying to just really generate enthusiasm at this point.
Yeah, I think back to when Kennedy said by the end of this decade we'll be on the moon. And I wonder if people felt as, somewhat hesitant. I hate to say pessimistic, but maybe even pessimistic about such an aggressive timetable, and yet we did it. And from there, we were essentially going from scratch. There was no, we circled the Earth a few times in Gemini and in the Mercury program, but to get to the moon with Apollo, that was almost all of that was from scratch. So to get back there, I mean, we have so much of the infrastructure already. It seems possible. I mean, it's certainly, I think it's doable if we have the will, and with a will, I mean political will and money, resources. I think that's a big element of it. So another part of the story is that SpaceX has announced that they plan to build a city on Mars and a base on the moon at the same time, with the goal to have the first city on Mars in 2050. So in 40 years, essentially, they want to have a city established on Mars. And then the goal is, once they have a city on Mars, they'll build propellant depots, harvesting oxygen, liquid nitrogen, and the other fuels that they need to create more fuel, and then establish a planet-hopping network that explores the solar system. And they plan to do this using, as a first step with this new spaceship they call Starship that they're building. And to start all that off, they plan to beat NASA. They're going to take a trip around the moon in 2023. There's a very clearly, I think, a goal of that. They're not going to land on the moon, but they'll circle it. Do you think, from a commercial enterprise, which is, let me put it this way, which is more likely to happen, the NASA's plans or SpaceX's plans? What do you think about that? A government agency, a commercial company?
I think commercial would probably be more likely to make it, just because I know government bureaucracy and politics get so involved.
Yeah.
When it's a matter of economics and shareholders, that's a little easier to move that group than it is moving a government. So, yeah, I think it's very possible. The trip around the moon sounds very doable. As far as, planting a city by 2050, again, I won't be here to see it, but I sure my grandkids will.
Yes. That's very exciting for them. What about you, Father Andrew?
Well, I totally think that the moon route is definitely feasible, but I want to talk about the whole Mars city idea, because I think that raises some very interesting questions and opportunities, as specifically in the Catholic world.
Yes,
because people living on Mars would still need access to the sacraments. They would need priests. They would need bishops. So, I mean, it's just kind of a fun thought experiment at this point. But the Vatican would have to make a new diocese that would include the entire planet of Mars, or the colony, or the settlement. But then you have just the whole issue of ordaining bishops for them, and then sending them off, and how long is communication going to be back and forth? What if what if heresies arise on Mars, and how long does it take them to communicate any of that back to Earth, and to clarify with the Vatican, with the Pope?
It wouldn't be a lot different from back in the days when we had ships sailing across the ocean.
Yep. And that's exactly what I was going to say, is that it's analogous to that sort of whole thought or that whole reality that happened. But it's just kind of very interesting to kind of think about, and a city on Mars.
So, very interesting. The moon is apparently under the jurisdiction of the Diocese of Orlando, because
right.
Sure.
The question came up during the Apollo missions, and because the astronauts it was established back in the days of exploration that the initial responsibility was the bishop from whose diocese the mission, not Marco Polo, Christopher Columbus, launched. So they would have the initial authority. And so, because Apollo missions launched from Cape Canaveral, which was in the Diocese of Orlando, so it was established in canon law that he has initial authority over the moon. Now, if there's a permanent population that ends up there, that's when the Pope, often there starts off as missionary diocese and then become permanent diocese at some point. It's a good question, and given that, will these Martian cities be colonies? Will they be part of the United States even? Will they be an independent state run by a corporation? Under what principles? I think there are a lot of questions. And what if Elon Musk, whose vision it is to establish these cities, doesn't like religion and bans it as a bad influence on his? There's some very interesting, some science fiction novels that could be written in this, but there's also some interesting questions here. Do you think it's a sensible use of our resources, this going to these other planets? Because Elon Musk has vocally said the goal of this is uh, so that if something happens to Earth, all of humanity is not wiped out. He has a very materialist viewpoint. He doesn't necessarily believe from what I understand. I don't know exactly what he believes, but based on things he said, it seems that he doesn't necessarily believe in the providence of God or in an afterlife, because he has a sort of materialistic view of things. Do you think this is a sensible use of resources? Does this have benefit to all of humanity? What do you think?
Well, if you look at the previous space missions, I know my husband worked at the Texas Rehabilitation Commission, and there were so many offshoots out of the space program that were helping the disabled and just the common man, the things that they learned in doing it. So yes, I think this is a reasonable use of resources. I mean, I think it's one of the things that we should, as a world, look at a good thing to do.
Okay. Father Andrew, what do you think?
On that same line, it actually almost sort of is a way to unite humanity in a common goal.
Yes.
Which could be a very good thing for the worldwide community. I would just be scared, and if there's offshoot programs, that's absolutely essential and necessary, because if we're going to put all this money into exploring Mars and neglecting our own people, that's a big issue for me, because
Right.
we encounter just poverty on Earth, and so I think both need to be addressed. I don't think it's
not one at the expense of the other.
Right.
Yes.
Because I think just exploring space is that God created us with minds and the ability to understand and the ability to create and design and to do these wonderful things with science and technology. And I think, it reveals God as creator and designer of all of this when we use our gifts in such a way that we can do these seemingly impossible things with the limited resources that Earth has. So it's definitely a good thing to pursue. We just have to, not pursue it at the expense of, not seeing the people right in front of us either.
I think God has given us that curiosity as well, that desire to go out and see his creation, see what he has made, to like even in the book of Genesis, to take dominion over it, in that sense, not to lord ourselves over it, but to be stewards of this creation, and that
caretakers,
and that includes going there, and who knows what kinds of, maybe we could stop mining the Earth for certain things because it would be cheaper or just better to mine asteroids or the moon or Mars for it and bring that stuff back. That's certainly a possibility, and then we're no longer, ruining our own environment in order to do that. It would be very interesting to see where that goes. So, none of this is going to happen anytime soon, so but it's interesting to look at, to think about, and you have to ask these questions early on about the ethics and morality, and because that way you're prepared for it when it happens. So good. So we'll I'm sure we'll be having more conversations about space exploration, because I love it. So let's talk about our second segment. I've titled this, "What Does Apple Have Up Its Sleeve?" There are reports coming out that next year, Apple not only has a revolutionary new phone, but a new phone with a new design that the iPhone 10 design that we've had for like 3 years now, that they've got another new design coming, but it will be 5G and have some a beefier processor, always a beefier processor, but a rear-facing 3D camera that would be new. That could not just take a picture, but know the shape of things in space. That would be very interesting. So there's talk of that's going to be the big phone next year. But the other thing that could be the real revolutionary product, the next big thing following on the iPhone itself, which came out in 2007, is augmented reality glasses. There's talk that they could launch their first generation model as soon as next year with holographic displays inside the lenses, and the glasses would be like an accessory to your phone. It would show texts and emails and maps and games or whatever over your field of view, so that you would see the world around you, but then you'd have all this data in front of you. And then eventually that maybe getting to a point where you don't need the phone and the glasses alone would be enough to replace your phone. So what do you think of all this? Do you want AR glasses? Do you want to have this in front of your eyes? What do you think?
For myself, no, not right now. You're talking about distracted driving being a problem and distracted walking already being a problem with the phone. This just opens up a lot of safety issues for me. Right. And I can see having AR glasses for a specific purpose, like exploring something that you're not there, but you want to explore the 3D dimension of some place that you're, want to go visit, or historical things or science things, but not glasses that you would wear all the time or that you would wear as you would use your phone all day. That is kind of worrisome to me.
What about you, Father Andrew? What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I definitely would love to try them out as long as they were used only in certain situations. I think it might actually help the whole walking with your eyes buried in your phone and running into a tree or something. You might actually see where you're going if you have these glasses in front of you as you're walking. But yeah, if you have it on all the time and you're seeing text message notifications, or you have whatever going on in the AR realm, you're not going to see anything in front of you. It's just the reality of it. So on certain things, I think it would be awesome to see. If you were, I love to travel. So if I was in a new city and I would able to kind of put on these glasses and just kind of see down the street, like, oh, there's a museum down there, there's a coffee shop, or, that sort of thing, I think would be really cool. Or for gaming, I think I've mentioned I play Pokemon Go. And so it'd be really fun to kind of see that rather than looking down at my phone and through the camera on the phone. To see that in kind of a more three-dimensional, realistic way would be fun. I don't see it replacing a phone, though. I can't imagine me wearing glasses all the time as a replacement for a phone that I can put in my pocket and just put away even if I want to. It's I don't know. They're going to have to come up with a different idea, I think, for me to buy into that.
Well, it's like the watch to me is a complement to the phone. Mm-hmm. The glasses would be a complement to it. They don't replace it. I can't see myself depending upon it all the time, the watch or the glasses.
Well, the key is, so there are a couple of issues with that. Like, because when I bought an Apple Watch, it's like, oh, do I want the cellular or do I want to get I'm going to have my phone with me. I don't want the extra $10 a month. I don't need the cellular. I'm not going to make calls on my watch. It's just not going to happen. But the interface, like, that's an important, how would you interface with this, with a phoneless AR glasses, of the ones that don't have I'm sorry, Siri is good. Excuse me. I think I just said everything off. The AI is going to have to get a whole lot better, as in it's not usable right now, before it becomes even contemplate it. They're just so far behind with the voice interface. So unless you you can figure that out. I think with the driving, what they will probably do is what they do now. They'll have, like we have do not disturb while driving. They will have a driving mode. It will detect when you're in your car, and it will go and it will only show you, say, your directions on the glasses. Like it'll show like a map and arrows and speed or something like that, like a Waze or Apple Maps sort of display, AR display in your field of vision. And that would be, I'm gonna guess that's what they do. But I think, like, for things like at dinner tables, how do you know the people you're sitting at dinner with are actually paying attention to you, or in classes, or in mass, or just even in meetings at work? How are you, like, when everyone's got these augmented reality glasses? I've seen the dystopian science fiction. What about ads? It'll be great when it shows you the coffee shop and the rating and the menu or whatever. What about when you're walking down the street and it's like Minority Report and there are ads everywhere trying to get your attention, virtual ads? I think Apple would probably do a good job of keeping some of that out. That's what they tend to do now, as long as the same people are running things. Apple can always change leadership. But Facebook, Amazon, and Google, we already know Google had glasses. They're all working on AR glasses. Can you imagine what Facebook glasses would be like? Oh my gosh, that would be horrible.
And the other thing that bothers me is that means there's that many more people talking out loud in areas and other people overhearing them, and it's like how do you screen these things out when you're typing and texting? Nobody else sees that.
Right.
But all of these AI things are the glasses type things depend upon spoken commands in order to accomplish them, unless there's some other mechanism for input that I haven't heard of before.
I've seen like they've got the science fiction thing where they have a sleeve of some sort that you type on with a display on it or something. I mean, that could possibly be. But yeah, I can't imagine like walking down the street and everybody's talking to their AI, their intelligent assistant, or in the subway, which is already so loud. Could you imagine trying to use the Shlomo or the Google or the Echo in the subway? With how loud and echoey it is, and everybody's trying to do it. I just can't imagine. These are some immense hurdles. So those are the negatives. What benefits could you see? We've kind of touched on a couple of them. What would be the benefits for people to have AR glasses? What kind of things would you think would be good?
Training. How to do something, kind of like an extension of YouTube. You see a YouTube video, but with AR glasses, I've got a little app on my phone that's called Jig, that basically you can take an object and place it on the desk, on your couch or desktop or floor, and you can rotate it around and see it and pick it up and move it, that type of thing. Well, imagine if you could use AR glasses to learn how to make a pot, or how to assemble something, or how to fix something.
Right.
That would be a really great use. Well, and maybe I could learn to scuba dive this way and not get wet.
glub. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to fix, say, like my dishwasher and try to make sense of what I'm seeing on the YouTube video with what is sitting in front of me disassembled from my dishwasher. Yeah, that would be really great. What about you, Father Andrew?
Well, I think just anything that we even currently have in AR would be benefited from glasses. So obviously, like I mentioned earlier, the traveling, the discovery, those sorts of things. But even I've played with like the IKEA app on the smartphone, and even placing furniture in a room or something.
Yeah.
You could have a more visual sense and physical sense of the area rather than using your phone as kind of that conduit. Where there's just finding things. The AR capabilities would be able to, if you've trying to remember where you park your car, or trying to recognize
in the sky,
a big arrow. Cool.
Yeah, over here, idiot. I'm over here. Oh, yeah, that's where I put it. Oh man, I could use that. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I'm sure there's plenty of other ways that it would be beneficial, but those are what come to mind initially, at least.
If the resolution
cooking demonstrations, Alton Brown and using AR, wouldn't that be cool?
Stand in the kitchen next to him, at his elbow.
Yeah.
I was thinking like someone could create a virtual or an AR museum if the resolution were high enough, where you get the glasses on and they're blank walls, but it's in AR. You can have the world's greatest art on the walls around you.
Sistine Chapel,
the Mona Lisa.
We can get some
Paris.
Catholics behind this.
Well, I did in I know this isn't AR, but it would have been about a year and a half ago. I was in Washington D.C. and was able to do a VR experience of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. So cool. To try to take that and put it into an AR sort of format would also be pretty cool.
My 13-year-old, she loves to get on Google Earth or Google Maps and Street View and just travel around places, whether it's around our town or other places. Could you imagine if she could do that she could do it in virtual reality, but it's kind of herky-jerky now, but like a holodeck style where you are in the place and you feel like you're there and you're actually traveling through it. that would be amazing to travel the world without leaving your home. I mean, that's the promise we've always had with, virtual reality. And maybe AR and VR are going to get there. If not in my lifetime, maybe theirs. Why do the kids always get the good stuff,
Because we're making it for them.
That's right. That's what it is. Yeah, I hope they're grateful.
But I have to throw out there, nothing compares with doing these things for real.
Exactly. You're right. You could travel virtually to Rome, but walking those cobblestone streets, smelling the smells of the food,
eating gelato,
yeah, and pizza,
the pigeons flying at you, the smell of the diesel.
Yep.
But I'm thinking of people that I know that are not just homebound but bedbound.
Yep.
And haven't been able to travel except by somebody getting them in a wheelchair and trying to get a van that's accessible to just get somewhere. And then they're very restricted when they're trying to see things. This would be such an exciting thing for them.
Or attending the Pope's midnight mass on Christmas Eve, or being in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre for the lighting of the Easter fire. That Orthodox, that's an amazing thing. If you ever see pictures of that, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, that would be, like, you're right. It would be awesome to go there, but it was almost impossible for anyone, for as many people who want to go see these specific things, and that's the promise. So there are definitely some drawbacks, but there's also definitely benefits, and we got to weigh those as this all comes about. Hopefully, we'll get more of the good, but nothing is ever just one thing or the other. So. Excellent. Yep. So that's very interesting. So let's talk about, I got some headlines here. So we'll run through those a little quicker than we would do with other things. And so the first couple have to do with both Echo and Google Assistant. The first bit is there is a hack of both the Google Assistant and Amazon's Echo. I forget to turn off the Echo that's in my office, so I can't say her name. Otherwise, she's going to wake up and become a hassle. So here's a quote from the article. It says, "White hat hackers at Germany's security research labs developed 4 apps called Smart Spies for each device that passed muster with Amazon and Google's respective vetting processes, meaning they were approved for public use." So basically, they were disguised as like a horoscope app or something else, relatively benign. But even after you told it to stop recording, don't record what I say, or something like that, it would give you a message. Oh yes, I've stopped, but they would keep recording, and these got through the vetting process, which is the point being, it's not that these devices allow things to record your voice, but they're for. It's that both Amazon and Google have apparently failed to put in place a vetting process to catch nefarious apps like this, which, given people's concerns about devices surreptitiously recording them in their home, that's a huge failure.
Oh, I agree. And, all of the people that you say, well, I just said such and such, and now I'm seeing an ad for it,
right.
This would be something that would follow on right like that. Now, luckily, these were white hat hackers, not people who were doing it maliciously. And,
right.
But it shows that it's possible. And we don't know if there are some out there that may be doing this.
The black hat hackers don't announce that they've been able to do it.
No.
And that's one of the things you maybe assume, like, if the white hat guys have done it, maybe the bad guys have done it too, which is one of the reasons why I have very few, like on Echo, it's called skills. I install almost no third-party skills on it. I just don't really need them. And maybe this is a good reason not to do so, and just stay as vanilla as you can. Do you guys have any third-party skills on devices, smart home devices like that? No,
the closest I have is our air conditioning system has a subset of the A-Lady that you can tell it to turn on the fan or increase the temperature or decrease. But those are all built into it, and they tell you how to access them, but nothing I've created myself.
And I don't have either Amazon or Google's. I actually have a Microsoft Cortana with the Invoke, but I got it more because she can play music and it's Cortana, and I was a fan of that, but I don't use it beyond that at all.
Right.
So yeah, the challenge, or the potential problem here is you have people who assume that they're benign and don't look any further into it. So I'm even thinking, some of the elderly who have one of these devices because it's so helpful, and just unknowingly download something like this that could steal information from them. And so I think maybe, a good policy is to not install as many third-party apps as you can.
Right. I think I have a couple, but one of them is the Jeopardy quiz app. So you can take the Jeopardy quiz every day. And I tried to do a Tide one I could never, the problem is you have to remember the exact phrase you're supposed to use, and I can never remember the exact phrase to get the high tide and low tide for our area. But that's not something either of you would ever have a need for, I think, especially Father Andrew.
If the Tide gets this far, I'm in trouble.
So, and then the other news related to the Echo and the Kindle, there's apparently a vulnerability in its system software that would make it both the first generation Echo and the 8th generation Kindle are susceptible to the Crack hack, Krack, that would allow someone to intercept Wi-Fi transmissions. The good news is that your Echo and Kindle should have updated already and should be patched to that. But
mine was not.
What's that?
Mine did not, and it's a new Kindle I bought in like July.
Oh, okay, good.
And it was not updated automatically, and I tried to do it, and it was quite a feat to get it updated, quite frankly.
Interesting.
I almost just bypassed it thinking, oh, well, sure, it's updated. And I went and checked the release number, and no, it wasn't.
So open the I almost said it, the Amazon Echo's app on your phone and go to the system information and check and have it check its software there. That's how you do it with that. And then on your Kindle, you open up the menu and you go to the system settings and check you have it tell it to check for updates there too. They say that you should have updated automatically, although maybe not, unless you've done something to disable it. So worth checking.
Well,
yeah,
right. And mine has been on Wi-Fi. It has not, it's been on pretty constantly.
Yeah.
And not put to sleep deliberately or turned off. And so I was real surprised. Now, as I say, it's a Paperwhite Kindle that I just bought a few months ago. I didn't even look at the Kindle app on the phone or the iPad. I'm assuming updated.
Yeah, well, the app on your phone relies on the operating system on the phone for this sort of thing.
Right.
This is a vulnerability in the operating system on the Kindle device itself.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I thought you said something about opening up your phone and checking there. That's why I was confused.
Only for the Echo. So for your Echo device.
Oh, for the Echo, right.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I didn't want to say the A word, but your Amazon A word app on your phone for that device.
Gotcha.
Another bit of news: the Facebook will it pledges to do better again. Once more promises. This time they say that they're going to label false posts more clearly as part of an effort to prevent 2016 from happening again. The election interference. They're going to more clearly label posts that are false and content created by state-run media. So, for example, Russia Today is owned by the Russian government, that sort of thing. So they're going to more clearly label that stuff. They're also have removed 4 networks of accounts, so groups of pages from that were based in Iran and Russia that they say were misleading users about who they were and were posting inflammatory political news. And they're going to offer more security for political candidates on their pages and profiles. So sounds good. It makes me a little concerned because Facebook I've learned, tends to wield their hammers a little broadly. As we talked about this past summer, they banned one of my posts that was a quote from St. Augustine for a violation of community standards. We never could quite figure out why. Maybe it had something to do with Augustine saying something harsh about the sinfulness of man. But nevertheless, if we can cut down on the amount of garbage political stuff that gets passed around, I'm all for that. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm clearly for that too.
Yeah.
But I also I don't trust Facebook for news.
Yeah. I
I think
agree.
that's maybe the bigger issue. Just go to trusted sources.
Well, and what constitutes false from Facebook's point of view? They've been labeling some pro-life groups as promoting false news for saying things like, you talk about the abortion breast cancer link, or talking about abortion reversal therapy for when women take the abortion pill. You can reverse that. Oh, false news. That's false. No, it's not Facebook. There's actual data. This is in dispute in the public square. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't trust Facebook to do the right thing ever. So,
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to our third headline. This is a very interesting one. So the Vatican is now selling a smart rosary. That's right. It is an e-rosary. It's an electronic device that looks like it's got a cross and a loop of 10 beads that pairs with the Click to Pray app. That's part of the Pope's prayer and evangelization initiative. The app has been around a bit, but now it has a rosary mode where you start the rosary by touching the touch-sensitive cross, and then it keeps track of the prayers on the beads for you. And as you touch each bead, the app on the phone will then show a different meditation for that mystery of the rosary. It costs $120. $120. I go to Iron Lace Designs and buy a beautiful
Yes.
Japanese chainmail rosary that will last for generations. Don't buy this thing that will end up in a drawer in 6 months because it's no longer supported. It has,
and you can go to Rosary Army and get their app if you want to hear it said aloud too.
Right, exactly. The Rosary Army app is another one I recommend. It turns out that there's a problem with this. Vatican hired some bad programmers because you can log in using a 4-digit PIN that they will send you. You say, I don't want to log in with my Facebook or Google account. I want to use a PIN. So it'll email you the PIN, but the programming interface that it uses also sends the 4-digit PIN back to the app, to the requester. So all that means is, so someone who hits the API is going to get your PIN, like someone who, fakes your phone, who can get in the middle, and it's sent in the clear, the PIN, and it also doesn't limit the number of times that you can try a password. So since 4 digits means 10,000 possibilities, it's pretty, even a script kiddie can find a way to run through 10,000 possible passwords in no time at all. I mean, what do they get access to if they do it? Not much. I mean,
it might encourage them to pray.
Right.
and Jesus said, 70 times 70, or 70,000 or whatever. So there you go.
Yeah. It's possible that such a flaw could then be used with another flaw in an application or in the phone,
right?
To get, and they said, in the account itself, it has an avatar, your phone number, your height, weight, gender, and date of birth. Why it has those? Well, it has your height, weight, and gender, and date of birth because it can also track steps, and those parameters differ based on those your height, weight, date of birth, and gender makes your step counting differently. As my wife will tell you, her watch counts much fewer steps for her than it does for me. But I tell her, you're taller, so I have to take more steps to cover the same distance. So
okay, so this is something that you can actually carry around with you. It's not a bigger device. I guess I was seeing it as a standalone bigger device, but it's small enough.
It's meant to be worn like as a bracelet, I think,
yes.
If you're not using it to pray.
Yes,
yeah.
It's like a rosary bracelet, and then you take it off to pray with it. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
And in defense of it, I personally am not going to buy one. I think it's kind of cheesy. But I can't help but wonder for people like my brother who's mildly autistic. For someone like that, it could be. I don't know if my brother would really use it in the way that it's meant, but it could be a way to help keep track of where you're at in the rosary. And for someone who's perhaps in a mentally challenged state or even maybe someone who's elderly who is going to lose track of what number they are in a particular decade. So
Yeah.
I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but
Right.
I'm personally not going to be getting one of these.
Yeah, actually, for someone who's easily distractible, like one of my kids, that would probably be something that would be helpful for them too. Yeah, it doesn't say exactly on the Vatican site. It doesn't say exactly how much it is, but I think it's somewhere around $100. It's somewhere around $120 or something like that. So yeah, not crazy money for a smart device, but it's aimed at a particular group of people.
Well, at least it's not one that lets you record your sins so that you could take it into the confessional.
we talked about that a few weeks ago. Yes.
Yes.
The article from Sophos's Naked Security blog, where I got this, it quotes the Vatican News as saying, "The Click to Pray e-rosary targets, quote, the peripheral frontiers of the digital world where the young people dwell," end quote. And then says parenthetically, "Yes, the Vatican News actually talks like this." I'm like, yeah, they do. Hang my head in shame.
Yeah.
Speak clearly, people. All right. So very interesting. So let's move on to our last segment, our picks of the week. And Father Andrew, why don't you go first with your pick of the week?
Okay, my pick of the week, I felt was inspired by the topics that we talked about today.
Yeah.
Because there is an app called Starwalk, and it's available for Apple, Android. I think it's available for Windows 10. I think it's also on some Kindles. I can't remember exactly which ones, but there's Starwalk and there's Starwalk 2. Starwalk, the original one, is a free app. Starwalk 2 is $3, or I think you can get an ad-supported version of it. But what it is it's an augmented reality stargazing app. So it's really, really fun to do, and I've had this app for years. But you can take your phone and you just point it up at the sky, and it uses the internal gyroscope of the phone and everything to figure out your latitude, longitude, what the sky above you should look like. And when you move your phone around, it actually mirrors what the sky above you should be looking like. So it'll point out constellations, it'll point out planets, it'll show where the sun is currently. It's got a cool time thing that you can fast forward into time, or you can go backwards in time and just kind of see what the night sky looks like. It kind of gets into a bit of more AR in that you can actually use the camera of the phone, and it'll overlay the constellations using the camera. So if you're pointing it up at the sky, you could potentially link up the stars that you're seeing through the camera with the stars in the app and find constellations and planets and all sorts of good stuff. So it's a really cool, fun app for those who are avid stargazers and want to, show that to your kids, or you yourselves are interested in those kind of things. It's a good one.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've used that myself for years and had forgotten about it again. So thank you. I'll have to pull it out again.
Yeah.
I've been using one called Sky Guide that does, I think, something similar. It does do the whole. What I wanted was one that, like you said, does the AR, so it overlays. You're seeing the world around you, including the trees and whatnot, and then the stars, like around them, behind them, that sort of stuff. Because sometimes, for the way it used to be, you'd have to kind of like match it up. Like, okay, that's what it's showing me in a sort of cartoon view, but I've got this stuff in front of me. So where is it? This is much better. Yeah. So yes, I recommend it. Is it? Does it cost anything?
Starwalk 2 costs $3, but I think that there's an ad-supported version that would be free. And then there are a number of in-app purchases that you can get as well.
Okay. And you can put it on your iPad, which is even better. Yep. It's a much bigger view.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's a good idea. And the Orionids meteor showers are going on this week, so that would be a good opportunity to go outside and look at the sky.
There's also a switch within the app that you can make it all in red, so it's easier on your eyes if you're outside.
Preserve your night vision. Excellent. Good. That's a good one. Pat, what's your pick?
Basically, I'm still in the days of I like earbuds and headsets, and so since I have an iPhone 10, I was having the conundrum of either using the Lightning to headphone connector to charge my phone or listen to the headphones. But Belkin has a product that's a little adapter. They call it a Rockstar. And basically, you put it into the Lightning port, and you have both a headphone adapter and can plug it in to charge it at the same time.
Ooh.
And that works really nice at a coffee shop when I would like to do both at the same time.
Excellent. You can't do audio in both, though, right? You can't put Lightning headphones.
No, you can't two audios. It's
Okay.
strictly one is to charge with, and the other is the headphone jack.
Okay, cool. That is good. Yeah, that is a modern day problem.
I was just going to say the other thing is I've seen some cheaper ones out there on Amazon, but I just felt because it had charging capability, I didn't want to mess around with one that wasn't Apple certified.
Right.
So I paid more for the Belkin Rockstar, but there might be some other ones that would still be certified and less expensive.
Yeah, when it comes to power, don't mess around. Don't mess.
That was my thought.
Yeah. Go with a known brand. Good, that's a good one. So I have an app, and this is a bit more of a technical app, but one that's really been saving my bacon. It's called App Tamer from St. Clair Software. And what it does, it's sort of a technical thing. It sits in your menu bar, and will show you the percentage of your CPU that you're using, which is good in itself. And you click on it, and it will show a list of the processes that your CPU is using, and it will list them. So right now, Skype is using a third of my processors, my browser, and then the Finder and Audio Hijack, which is what I use to record the audio, et cetera, et cetera. And what you can do is you can click on one of the apps, and you can say, whenever my browser is in the background, never let it exceed more than this percentage of the CPU. So for example, the common problem for podcasters is you're podcasting, you're using Skype, those use up a lot of resources, and suddenly your Mac wants to do a time machine backup, and that just kills everything. Well, I have it set so that my backup, the process that does the backups, can never exceed 20% of the CPU. It's not allowed to go higher than that. And Spotlight and Tweetbot and like all these different apps that I've always got running, well, I've set them to different settings so that it never just brings everything to a grinding halt by something going on in the background. So it's App Tamer, AppTamer, and it's a great little piece of software. And I'm trying to see what the pricing on it is. It's free for 15 days. It's $15 for one license, which is not bad for what it does. It as they say, lowers the CPU power for the application you're using, reduces your heat and fan noise, and increases the amount of time. If you're on a MacBook, you can save some battery power as well. So check that out. Awesome. Those are some great picks and a great discussion. Before we finish up, I do want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Ruth M., Patrick, Eric W., Marianne K., and Mike and Angie G. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So that's it from us. What did you think of the topics we had for discussion today about space exploration and about Apple's forthcoming AR glasses and the other bits that we talked about today? Let us know by commenting at sqpn.com/technology or the SQPN Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Or you can send an email to technology@sqpn.com. And you can find links from our discussion and picks of the week on our show notes at sqpn.com/technology. So remember to like the episodes on social media if you can. That helps us, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter, where we're at SQPN. That helps us juice the algorithms and get the show out in front of more people, and helps us grow the audience, which we greatly appreciate. Until next time, Pat Scott, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Until next time.
Father Andrew Kinstetter, thank you as well.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.